Hi friends, so we're getting ready to read chapter 4. In chapter 3, our friend decided to jump into a dumpster. Duncan was like, I gotta get out of here, I gotta hide from the man catcher. Jumps into a dumpster because he thought that was his only alternative, and it was gross and slimy with banana peels and all kinds of food in it. And he heard the man catcher come outside, so he stayed quiet. Then he heard the door close, and he said, maybe I shouldn't come out because maybe that's the man catcher pretending to have gone back inside. And so he stayed in there longer, not knowing whether he should come out or not, because he was afraid if he popped out, the man catcher would be right there ready to catch him. So he stays in the dumpster a little longer, not knowing, how long should I be in here? And while he's waiting, what happened to him? That's right, they poured more garbage on top of him. Poor guy. And when they threw garbage on top of him, he thought a hand fell in. But it wasn't a hand, it was a glove. And he's thinking this might be the glove of an alien trying to cover his alien hands. So he's got a human hand glove. And so maybe there's another alien at the school, because they had an alien supposedly last summer and they thought they were gone, but now maybe there's still another alien. So let's find out if that may or may not be true in chapter 4, called The Honey Flint. The way I figured it, whoever owned the glove got left behind when Susan and the school band drove Brock's home out of town. But why hadn't the aliens come back for him? Her? It? He had it. It had been abandoned. Or was their mission still on? Whatever the case, I figured we had to do something about it. But first I had to get out of the dumpster. Except I was really afraid to do that, because if the alien, whoever it was, saw me climbing out, then it might wonder if I found the glove. And in that case, it might decide it was no good having me around. I remembered the way Brock's home had fried the school door shut. Maybe I should just leave the glove where it was. But if I did, I couldn't prove what I had found. On the other hand, so to speak, if the alien somehow caught me with the glove, I was dead meat for sure. I crawled farther into the dumpster to think. Settling into a pile of used French fries, I stared at the glove, trying to decide what to do. The only thing I knew for sure was that I didn't want to mess around with these guys. After what seemed like hours, the final bell rang. I could hear kids shouting and screaming as they ran out of the school. The back door scraped open. One of the janitors dumped more stuff into the dumpster. By now, my clothes were soaked with sweat, among other things. At least I wasn't wearing nice new clothes like most of the kids. I would have traded almost anything for a breath of clean air. Closing my eyes, I leaned my head against the side of the dumpster. Ouch! The metal was hot. I scrambled over to the other side, the side in the shade, and tried again. That was better. Not cool, but not burning either. I think I dozed off for a little while. Who knows, maybe the fumes knocked me out. The next thing I knew, I was jolted awake by a horrible clanking noise. Someone was bouncing a basketball off the side of the dumpster. If I was into headbanger music, it would have been great. I'm not. It was terrible. I heard another noise and screamed as a huge rat scurried across my leg. Fortunately, my scream came at exactly the same moment as the next thump of the basketball, so I don't think anyone heard me. Get out of here! I hissed at the rat. It ignored me. I grabbed a half-eaten apple and threw it as hard as I could. I missed, but the rat ran away, about a foot away. Then it went back to examining the garbage. I decided if it left me alone, I would leave it alone. Except I found that whenever it got out of my sight, I started to feel nervous. Yeah, I would feel nervous too, you guys, if there's a rat in a dumpster with me and every time it hid, you go, wait, where's the rat now? Is it closer to me? No. Okay, let's move on. By the time the mad basketball player was done bouncing his ball off the dumpster, I felt like someone had been working over my head with a sledgehammer. I listened, which wasn't easy considering the way my ears were ringing. I couldn't tell for sure, but I thought the parking lot was empty. I stared at the glove again and decided I had to take it with me. I knew that if I didn't, no one would believe me when I told them about it. And I had to tell people. If I didn't, who knew what the alien might do to our town? Feeling nervous, I crawled to the front of the dumpster and poked my head above the edge. Fresh air. It was glorious. That was the single best breath I'd ever taken. It was almost the last, since the next thing I saw was the Manchester. Not the Manchester, the man-catcher. He was walking across the parking lot. I dropped back into the dumpster and waited to hear the sound of his car pulling away before I tried again. This time the coast was clear. Straining, I pulled myself up on the edge of the dumpster. It wasn't easy. The heat had drained my strength. Finally, I got my leg up over the edge and dropped back onto the loading dock. I felt as if there should be little odor lines in the air around me, like in the comic strips. I smelled worse than my brother's socks, which he usually wears for 3 days straight. Hey, you guys, you ever notice like when you look at a cartoon and somebody's supposed to smell really badly, there's like this green, like swirly, like lines behind them? That's what he thinks he looks like right now. I was almost as confused as I was smelly. What should I do first? Who should I talk to about the hand mask I'd found? The answer to that one was simple. I had to talk to Susan. She would believe me. But when I got to Susan's house and rang the bell, her mother opened the door. She took one sniff at me and told me to go home and get cleaned up. She wouldn't even tell Susan I was there. So I didn't tell her that I was afraid to go home. I was thinking on my way down Pine Street, trying to figure out what to tell my mother, when a woman stepped out of the bushes. I shoved my purple hand into my pocket. I didn't want anyone to see the evidence that I had pulled the fire alarm. The woman was very pretty. She had long blonde hair tied back in a ponytail and eyes as blue as my father's Buick. Her figure looked like someone had taken one of those Greek statues I like to look at in the encyclopedia and put clothes on it. A camera dangled from a strap around her neck. "Hello, Duncan," she said, putting out her hand. "My name is Honey Flint." I was dying to shake her hand, only I couldn't because I didn't want her to see the purple stain. "How do you know who I am?" I asked. She smiled, which probably should have been against the law since there wasn't much a guy could do to defend himself against it. "I've been paying attention," she said. Then she wrinkled her brow and her nose and added, "What happened to you?" "I don't want to talk about it." That wasn't really true. I did want to talk about it, but I was afraid she would laugh at me. Honey shrugged. "I guess boys just have all kinds of adventures," she said, "which is what I wanted to talk to you about. I understand you've had some adventures with an alien." I felt a little prickle of fear. People in town had been keeping quiet about the alien situation. According to my dad, they figured no one would believe what had happened, so they just weren't talking about it. The police report simply showed Peter as missing, either a runaway or a kidnapping victim. They didn't mention anything about an alien. So how did this woman know about what had happened? Was she one of the aliens? Did she know I had found the hand mask? Had she come to try to get it back from me? "How do you know about the aliens?" I asked nervously. Honey smiled. "I have my sources," she said. Then she put her hand under my chin so that I had to look up into those blue eyes and said, "How would you like to be in the news, Duncan?" "What news?" I asked, more interested now. Honey smiled again. "The National Sun." Now that was exciting. My father loves the Sun. He makes my mother buy a copy every week when she does the grocery shopping. I like it too. It has great headlines like "Elvis ate my baby" and "Walking zombies terrorize town." As soon as Honey mentioned the Sun, I felt I could trust her. I figured if she was an alien, she would have said she worked for the New York Times or something. What kind of an alien would claim to work for the National Sun? I also thought how amazed my father would be if his favorite paper did an article about me. "Well?" asked Honey. "Sure," I replied. "I'll talk to you. I like your paper. My whole family likes it. We keep it in the bathroom." Honey blinked and smiled and said, why didn't you just tell me what happened to you last spring? Then it hit me. Honey was my answer. This was what to do about the skin glove. Reaching into my pocket, I said, Honey, have I got a story for you? Oh, so he feels like he can trust this Honey reporter. Is he trusting her just because she's good looking? Because she says she knows his story? I don't know. Listen, I'm not going to trust just anybody. I don't know this lady. Do we just trust people who we've just met and we're just going to talk to them and give them free information? Yeah, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do it. But he thinks she's the one he can trust. So, okay. Let's see if that's true in the next chapter.